this out.
Broadcasting live worldwide.
Hi, Daddy.
Ariel, can you say have faith?
Again.
On June 16th, 2018, a show designed for you, the Daily Commuter, went live. A weekly show all about faith. A show with motivational topics, inspirational stories, and personal testimony set out to change the world.
Have faith, let it begin. One day you'll say it. Can you say have faith, let it begin? Huh? Yeah. Yeah? Daddy loves you. Daddy loves you.
Welcome to Have Faith. Let it begin. Here's your host, Angel Santana.
Ariel, can you say have faith?
Again.
Let it begin.
Again.
Say have faith.
Again.
Let it begin.
No.
No? Okay. Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday on this Tuesday, August 31st, the last day of August 2021. You know, many of us are preparing to go back to school. Whether that's the first time you're going to kindergarten, your first time going to first grade, middle school, last year of your high school year, maybe you're a freshman, maybe it's your first year of college, maybe it's your last year of college. All these play a factor. Back to school was a great time. You know, for some of us, we didn't like school when we were growing up. We learned to appreciate it more when we went to college. Some of us just never liked school, period. Felt as if it wasn't for you. And, you know, that's okay. It happens. I know for me, when I went to school, I used to love it. I used to love going to school because I wanted to learn. I wanted to be amongst friends. I wanted to have good times. Now, there's good things about school and there's bad things about school. One of the things that I loved about school was the interaction that I had with my teachers, with my guidance counselors, with my friends, the camaraderie, getting ready at the bus stop and picking up the school bus and laughing and talking about things that happen on TV or shows that we liked. A lot of my friends were wrestling fans, so we talk about all the things that we watched throughout the summer, all the pay-per-views, and us getting together. And then, of course, showing off each other's backpacks or lunch pails or sneakers or the type of things that we did over the summer where we traveled and had vacation. Watching people come back and seeing them change, grow, having facial hair, having long hair, just everything. Like discovering girls for the first time. Actually looking at them in a different way and saying, wow, they're kind of cute. Back to school, it was a lot of fun. As I got older and I went to college, I learned to appreciate it more. Because when I went to college, I always sat in the back of the class. As I got older, I sat at the front. I wanted to learn. I wanted no distractions. I just wanted to be front and center, right in front of the teacher, so I can ask questions and not afraid to say that I didn't understand what just was brought up. But then there's a different side of school that I didn't like. Bullying. People being very disrespectful to others. You know, growing up, I've always been a very heavy kid. I used to be called Fat Boy by my brothers. And I used to get picked on at home. Never in school, I will be honest. But only at home. And the hardest thing that I went through, and still do go through, is struggling with my weight. I've shared that many times with you, but not as in depth as I'd like to talk to you about it today. Some of us have insecurities. And insecurities are normal. It happens. You know, I've always felt as if I was a good person. I had a lot to offer. I was never disrespectful or mean to anyone. I always was the type of person that tried to help those that needed help. I invited everyone to sit at the lunch table. I always try to be that student or that fellow classmate that would do anything as much as give the shirt off my back. But then there were other students. There were sports fanatics or jocks that just did a lot to make sure that they could be disrespectful and mean to others, making fun of other students and declaring that war on the ones that were heavy or the ones that dressed differently in their eyes. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I felt as if things like that should have never happened. Things like that should never exist. Why do people be disrespectful? Why are people just consistently doing all they can to make others feel so small? Is it fair? I remember a story when we had just got back for the first time. It wasn't even the first week of school. I don't know if you remember, but when I used to go to school, we used to have to wait outside the classroom because classrooms were always locked. So we sat there, we stood there, I should say, outside, and people started showing up, and you get the occasion, oh my gosh, you grew and you're much taller, and there was a guy there, and I'm going to change his name because I didn't get permission, to say his name, so I'm going to change it. His name was Joe, and Joe was just as heavy as I was, maybe a little bit heavier than me. And Joe showed up and was always such a good guy, always nice, always willing to talk about wrestling, was very, very nice to everyone, would give you a pencil. He had this little container that had multiple pencils. He had all different types. He had the number 2 pencil, the number 3 pencil. He had the one where you push down and the pencil would come out. I forget what it's called, but I mean, he had it all. He had multiple erasers. You just name it. He had the crayons. He had it all. And if you didn't have something and he heard about it, he'd get up and walk over and hand it to you. That's how good Joe was. He's such a good guy. Unfortunately, there were others that weren't such good people. Yeah, there were these other students that liked to pick on Joe, call him names. Names that I don't even want to repeat on the air. But you can imagine when you're a heavy guy, parts of your body, are more obvious than others. We'll leave it at that. Now, we had reached our 8th grade year, and this has been going on because in middle school, we went to school, it was 6th, 7th, and 8th. After that, you then move to a new building. So you're in one building for 3 years, and then you move again. So for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, Joe put up with the same garbage. Joe got bigger, though, this year. And when I mean bigger, his heart got bigger. His confidence in defending himself got bigger. You see, Joe was planning to join the football team. So Joe started to lift weights. Now, he wasn't muscular, but he still packed on quite a pounds, let's say, but packed on some very obvious biceps. And here came these kids that always picked on Joe. And I remember Joe telling me at times, I just wish that I can go through 1 year where I didn't have one class or a study hall with these guys. Or they didn't have to have the same lunch as me. And Joe and I used to sit together. And these kids came around and, we had about 15 minutes before we could even start our day. This is first period. Everybody was there early and they started picking on Joe. And there were times when Joe cried. He would tear up. He would ask to go to the bathroom so that he wouldn't allow others to see him cry. I would always get involved and I always tell the guys, can you lay off him? And they would listen. And Joe, I remember, would say to me, I wish they would do that when I asked them to. And I said, Joe, as long as I'm in class with you, they won't bother you, man. But I wasn't always in class with them. So, back to the day in question. 8th grade year, first period. Those kids came around and started. But Joe was not going to have it this year. Joe waited patiently. And after a couple of minutes, he dropped his books. He rushed one of the guys. He picked him up and slammed him against the wall. Now, I'm not saying that this was something justified, or I'm not saying that you should result to violence. By no means. But Joe had enough. 3 years of torture, 3 years of being picked on was enough for Joe. When he picked up this guy and he slammed him against the wall, the guy's head bounced off of the wall. And he started to bleed. Joe and I, and most of us, realized that there was blood. And Joe immediately tried to help him. The teachers came out and Joe got suspended. The young boy who treated him like trash for so many years was out of school for a couple days. We think to this day, we always talk about it, we think he had a concussion, but we're not sure. I mean, we were too young to know. What we do remember was being at lunch. Joe had returned. And as we were sitting at lunch, Joe got a tap on his shoulder. The boy had returned. Joe, I saw him, it was like a good 12-second stare down. Joe was sitting and the gentleman was standing up looking down at Joe. I can see Joe tightening up his fists. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, here we go. It's going to be World War II. He stuck out his hand and shook out and apologized to Joe. And told him he was sorry. Joe shook his hand and said, I'm sorry too. I'm happy to tell you that years later, they were both on the football team. They began to be on the same team. And Joe eventually grew confidence. Joe got older. He got bigger. He got wiser. And one day, around our senior year, we were passing each other in the hallway. And I saw Joe with his high school jersey on. And I saw a group of guys laughing. And as I was passing, I saw Joe with others picking on another person. And that broke my heart. Joe had joined the team, but he also joined the wrong team. He didn't learn his lesson. So I remember writing in his yearbook and saying, I'm happy that you are happy, but I'm disappointed that I lost a very good friend. Many of us in life learn lessons, brief lessons, and then we take our lessons and we apply it to the world. But how often do we learn from our mistakes? How often do we allow ourselves the ability to channel every single thing that we have encountered and use it and learn from it so that we can inspire others? I wish I can tell you that I was friends with Joe again. Never saw him again. I will tell you, so disappointed. And quite honestly, I still am. But there's not a day that goes by that I don't struggle with my weight. And I don't think about Joe and say to myself, Joe, I hope that wherever you are a different person. You're a better person. And you're inspiring others. And if you have children, that your children are not being picked on the way you were. And hopefully they're not becoming bullies the way you turned out to be on your first year of high school. And that's what I've got to talk to you about. I don't think there's any other way to close out this show than to say this. Treat others with respect. If you were a bully once, stop being that bully. If you're a current bully, don't do the things that you don't want done to you. God sees and hears everything. He wants you to be a good person. So this morning, as we consider all the things that are happening in our schools, all the things that happen in our lives, talk to your children. Make sure they're doing right by you, by themselves. Make sure that all of us treat others with respect, because it didn't stop at school. We all go to work. We all congregate with others. We all need to respect one another, because if we did that, the world would be a better place. Have a great day, everyone, and never forget, have faith, let it begin. Thank you for listening to another episode of Have Faith, Let It Begin. That's right, Ariel. We're done with another show. And it's always great to have this show with you, my love. You know, we're going to encourage each and every person to listen to our show every single weekday. That's right, you and I are going to help change the world. Do you think that you can do that for me? Huh? Yeah, you know you can. She does. We want to let you know, and yes, we encourage you to listen to our show each and every weekday, and it's going to be live at 7:30. Make sure you're subscribed to our show. Make sure you get ready, fasten those seatbelts, because Ariel and I and my family are going to bring you a new topic, a new story each and every day, right? Isn't that right, Ariel? Yeah. And she's smiling at me. Guys, enjoy your day.